What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. We've come to the last project in an incredible year of collaborations that James Whitner and his many brands have teamed up with brands like Nike, Jordan Brand, and even Adidas this year to come out with. Today, we're taking a look at an Air Jordan 1 that, in my opinion, was one of the most polarizing sneakers that dropped this entire year. We're going to get into the story behind the shoe, who it's intended for, what it's intended for, why it was made, all those things. Without further ado, let's get into it. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the MANIERE Air Jordan 1 Airness. First impressions on this sneaker. Good shoe. Listen, I know that a lot of people didn't like this shoe. I know that a lot of people have a lot of things to say about the shoe. We're going to get into so much about this sneaker because even though it looks relatively like a simple shoe, when you dig beneath the surface of the shoe, not only are there a lot of Easter eggs, but this sneaker has a lot going on story-wise. But before we get into the sneaker, we have to acknowledge the packaging because they did an incredible job with that one as well. So when you first get the shoe, it actually comes like this. And you guys have seen this sneaker a million times, so we're not gonna go too much into the design details, but I really like the way that they did this with this plastic covering. They did the exact same thing with the MANIERE Jordan 3, the Raised by Women. Pretty much it's just a carbon copy of that packaging again, but adapted to an Air Jordan 1 box. Wings logo with the MANIERE on the side, MANIERE on the top of the box lid. When you pop open the box lid, you have the iconic Jumpman photo here with MANIERE in between the A and the Jumpman as well. Everything co-branded, very, very nice. You also have the custom MANIERE paper as well, same paper that you got with the 3s as well. So like I mentioned, you know, a lot of the design details as far as the packaging goes really does mimic the Air Jordan 3, but just adapted for the Air Jordan 1. Let's get into the shoe. All right, starting with the upper of the shoe here, nothing different about the silhouette itself, but the big thing that I want to talk about first of all is the materials on the shoe. A lot of people don't like, for whatever reason, the cracked leather and the cracked materials all over the shoe here. I don't know why, because I actually think that it's not bad, and maybe it's because I'm a bit of a documentary junkie. I like the story. I think that the story behind this sneaker really is what sells a lot of it. But before we get into the sneaker, as I mentioned, cracked leather all along the upper of the shoe here. It kind of feels like it has an overlay of this sheen around it, but as this shoe wears, it will flake off. As a matter of fact, some of it is already flaking off on me right now. Burgundy Crush Wings logo on the lateral side of the shoe here. Right underneath that, you have what a lot of people are saying is snakeskin as far as the swoosh goes on this maroon swoosh, and they feel like it's like snakeskin also around the collar of the sneaker as well in this leather material here, and then right up underneath the Wings logo here in this panel. But that's actually not what I think it was designed for. I'll get into that in just a second. Taking the top down look at the shoe here, you also have that same cracked leather actually in the tongue of the shoe as well as on the outer of the shoe as well. Normally the tongue might be a little bit different, you know, nylon, something a little different than the leathers on the upper, but this time you actually get the same material on the tongue itself. Now that's capped off with that black and burgundy Crush Nike Air tag, and right underneath that you actually have a half and half tag with MANIERE on it as well. Because you got to rep the brand at all times, right? James Whitner got to put his big A on the tongue of the Jordan 3s, and this time you also get the MANIERE on the tongue of the Jordan 1s. When we open up the shoe a little bit on the back of the tongue, I really like this softer kind of satin feeling material here in the burgundy as well. When you look at the other portion of the interior here, the inner lining of the shoe here, the sock liner, and where the ankle is here, very nice burgundy Crush quilted satin material here. Really, really plush. But again, it's James Whitner, it's MANIERE, so naturally for the $200 price tag, we're going to get elevated materials inside of the shoe as well. Now you get an extra set of these cream laces here, these vintage looking cream laces, in addition to the burgundy Crush laces on this shoe as well. Speaking of extra accessories, I really like the hang tag on this. You get a leather burgundy Crush hang tag on this with the big MANIERE A logo on one side. You also get the Air Jordan Wings logo on the other side. But the thing that I like about this hang tag is that normally the hang tag is square, like it's from that orientation, from that angle, but this time they actually did it from a diamond shape here. So it's subtle, but I like the way that they did it with the diamond alignment instead of with the square alignment. That's dope. Moving down to the midsole, you have a really nice aged midsole as well, adding again to that vintage look overall of the sneaker. Remember, the sneaker has everything to do with nostalgia and giving you an old vintage aged look. On the outsole of the shoe, again, you have that burgundy Crush outsole there. Nothing really different. That's pretty much it. And on the insole insole here. Really nice burgundy crush insole here. Airness by MANIERE for Air Jordan on the tag. Very, very nice tag. I love the way that they do that. Couple of Easter eggs on this shoe I want to point out as well that are really, really dope and that have everything to do with the detached wings on this shoe as well. James Whitner actually said in an interview with GQ that he actually wanted to make sure that the wings were detached and not folded in because of the way that he kind of likes to wear his pants and his bottoms with his Air Jordans. He wanted the ability for his bottoms to sit somewhere on his shoe. And so with that, they actually put a couple of really dope quotes from Michael Jordan within the wings as well. On the right shoe, underneath the wing here, it says, "Learning is a gift even when pain is your teacher," by Michael Jordan. Very powerful quote. And on the left shoe here, underneath the left wing, you have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. That quote to me is a little bit weaker. I'm not gonna lie about that, but still it's a good quote from MJ. But the quote about learning being a gift even when pain is the teacher, I think that's the one that really speaks to the essence of this shoe. So with that, that's pretty much all that I have to say about the shoe in and of itself. Now, let me get into what I believe is the design inspiration behind this sneaker, thanks to my guy, Mr. Unloved Ones, and what I also believe ended up being the problem with this shoe as well. All right, so first things first, like I mentioned before, this is not, I think, snakeskin. I'm pretty sure that's not what this is. I believe that what people believe is snakeskin is actually simulated deterioration of the shoe that lends itself into the vintage aesthetic of the sneaker. Let me explain. This sneaker actually is made to represent an aged version of the 1985 metallic red Air Jordan 1 High. If you guys take a look at that shoe and you compare it with the way that this sneaker looks, if the reds had deteriorated and over time they turned from that bright red color to that dark red or maroon color, hence the burgundy crush here, basically that shoe would look exactly like this shoe with the crumbling on the upper, with the aging of the midsole, and then of course with the deterioration turning the bright red to the maroon where all of the colors are on this sneaker. So that I believe is really the essence of it, is the cracking and the peeling away of this shoe, and that I believe is why the swoosh looks like this and the collar looks like this. It's not made to look like snakeskin, I don't think. I think it's made to look like the swoosh and the pieces of leather literally tearing away at the shoe itself and the upper as well. James Whitner even doubled down on that by saying that he actually liked using the color maroon, and I believe drew inspiration from that sneaker because he said that the red represented the blood shed that he had seen around him while growing up in Whitaker projects. So that's cool. And I thought that this sneaker really had to do with the rose that grew from the concrete because that was included in the visuals on the Airness campaign, and that's really what a lot of people were talking about here. So initially, I thought that the red in the shoe represented that rose, and then the upper of the shoe actually represented the concrete. But I realized that that's not necessarily what it is, even though that's what was portrayed in the visuals. But that gets me to the next portion of the video. Let's dig into the story a little bit more. So the sneaker is called Airness, and what I believe Airness is basically synonymous with greatness or the it factor. As a matter of fact, in the visuals, which were very, very dope, if you haven't watched them yet, I suggest you do that. They actually kind of use those words back and forth. When somebody says Airness, they kind of echo underneath the word Airness with the word greatness. And so I think that kind of ties in what the story of this shoe is, in addition to Michael Jordan, of course, being his Airness and having all the greatness that you can never really replicate. A lot of people try to duplicate what MJ did on the court and his greatness and his Airness, but they could never quite get it quite like the GOAT did. So I get that side of it that pleases the Air Jordan side. And then of course the storytelling side for MANIERE, they talked a lot about culture and about Black culture. As a matter of fact, this sneaker really has everything to do with Black people and the contributions that Black people have made to where and what the sneaker culture is today. And I'll be honest with you guys, if you go into any deep conversation as far as the origins of sneaker culture, there's going to be a lot of Black influence underneath that, and that's just what it is. But the issue these days is that with the gentrification of sneakers, that's pretty much what we're calling it these days, and of course with a lot of corporate entities and things like that coming in, you know, taking pieces of the sneaker culture and doing things like paid sneaker communities, which I think are kind of crazy, and you know, with StockX and all these other places being worth billions of dollars. Now that all this is kind of democratized and gentrified at this point, it's hard to get back to the stories that talk about the origins of where this thing really came from and to pay homage to the contributions that people that look like me gave to the sneaker culture. Kari, what's your point? Here's what I'm saying in a nutshell. Black people made sneakers hot, and this sneaker actually speaks to the fact that even though we made something hot, it was taken from us and then attempted to be resold back to us. That happens a lot of times out here. So people will take our talent, they'll try try to emulate what we do. As a matter of fact, in the visuals, there's a part that really stuck out to me where a group of black girls are doing a TikTok dance, and there's a group of white people that are behind them that actually are trying to emulate the same dance, but they're a little bit off rhythm and off beat. They can't really get it right. And then it also speaks to the plight of the black experience in this country as well, dealing with law enforcement unjustly and unfairly, things like that. So these sneakers were a lot more than just the way that they look. And unfortunately, I had a feeling that on YouTube, a lot of people were just going to say, these are dope. And a lot of people really weren't going to dig into the story itself. But that's what I'm here for. So while I can appreciate people going the hype route and saying, are these the sneaker of the year, the Jordan 1 of the year, which they're neither one to me. In my opinion, the Jordan 1 of the year might have been the neutral gray 85, and the sneaker of the year, in my opinion, is still the MANIERE Air Jordan 3. These do have a place possibly on the top 10 list because of their storytelling and the impact. However, the sneaker also fell flat with a lot of people as well because of how simple it looks and because a lot of people just really weren't feeling the crack leather and the crack material. Some people called it ashy. Some people called it a lot of other things, and it is what it is, to each his own. But personally, I'm not mad at the way that the sneaker came out, even though it is super simple. For that reason, it's not my sneaker of the year by any means. I think the threes do a much better job of doing what they tried to do as far as telling the story and merging story with product. My issue with this sneaker here, though, is that it feels like the story was created after the product was made. And I think that disconnect is felt in this sneaker when you really dig into that. Now, I'm gonna stick a pin in that because I wanna get back to what I said about black culture, black people, and what white people and how white people were represented as within the visuals to promote this shoe. James Whitner has pulled no punches about the fact that he is all about telling black stories, stories that mean something to him and stories that speak to a lot of the black trauma that we experience, especially people like myself when we were children. Remember these? The social status free lunch dunks? These again speak to another portion of trauma that we dealt with growing up in the projects, growing up in lower income areas. Now, the difference between a sneaker like this one and a sneaker like the Jordan 1s is because free lunch was kind of a universal issue that a lot of different people that come from a lot of different walks of life really dealt with. So I think this sneaker connected a lot better with a lot more people than the Air Jordan 1 did. Plus the materials were good, colors were a little bit better too. But the Air Jordan 1 and the visuals for the Jordan 1 spoke directly to the black experience. They use words like we and us, which are synonymous with the black culture in terms of the visuals. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I suggest you do so at the same name, SneakerPhetish. And I actually host a space on Twitter, which is kind of an audio only chat twice a week that's called Sample Size. And one of those chats that we talked about was, can white people wear the MANIERE Air Jordan 1? And while it was a very controversial topic to talk about, as it is today, the point was that this sneaker speaks to allyship and it speaks to the black experience. And so that's really who the sneaker was intended for. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if you're white, you can't wear the shoe or you can't buy the shoe. Obviously, you can. It's a free country. But my point with that discussion and with the discussion on today's video is that my hope is while you're wearing the sneaker, you understand what it is that you're wearing on your feet. That's what we do here on Sneaker Phetish. We want you to understand the why behind the sneaker. Why do these sneakers matter? Now, I understand maybe you don't care and you just feel like, yo, it's a dope shoe. It looks cool. It's on MANIERE. There's hype behind it because it was limited. I'm gonna wear them because they're dope, or I'm gonna sell them because they're worth a lot of money on StockX. And hey, I'm not mad at that. There's room for everything out here. But there really was a story behind these shoes. There was a very direct and intentional purpose behind these sneakers here. And the hope, I believe, from the brand and the designer is that if you're wearing this sneaker, you wear them as an ally or as a representative of the black experience that we have in this country every day. That's who this sneaker was really inspired by and for. And even if you don't like black people at all and you want to wear the shoe too, that's fine too. It is what it is. It's your money. You can do whatever you want to do with your money. I want to make that abundantly clear before people go kind of crazy off this, like I know can happen from time to time. But like I mentioned, there is an intention behind this sneaker here. And I hope, my biggest hope, is that if you got this shoe and you plan on wearing this shoe and not selling it for profit, that you understand what it is that you're wearing on your feet, because it means something. But that's pretty much all that I have to say about this sneaker. I just had to kind of get that off my chest so that people understood really what these are that you're holding in your hands. They're more than just that hype sneaker from James Whitner and MANIERE that a lot of people weren't able to get, but you were able to get your hands on. They're more than just that sneaker that bots weren't really able to get their hands on. They're more than just the perceived sneaker of the year. These are more than just a tool for hype and views and likes and clicks, guys. These sneakers mean something out here, and there's real stories behind these sneakers and real inspiration behind these shoes. And I hope that somebody out there that watches this video understands that. Okay. Now it's time for you guys to sound off down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the MANIERE Air Jordan 1. Are you guys feeling these? Were these on your must-cop list? Were you lucky enough to be able to get your hands on a pair of these? And I will tell you this, if you weren't able to get your hands on a pair of them, rumor has it, there's a restock coming up soon. So I would stay tuned to your social media networks because they're not quite done with these yet. But sound it down below. Let me know. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like these, because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the MANIERE Air Jordan 1 Airness, and until next time, I'm out.